All right, so we're diving into some fascinating stuff today, folks, talking about SEAL Team 6. And when you hear that name, SEAL Team 6, you think ultimate badassery, right? But get this legendary unit shrouded in secrecy might not even exist if it weren't for a major military operation that went totally wrong.
You're talking about Operation Eagle Claw, right? The
Yes.
1979 attempt to rescue the hostages in Iran.
Exactly. It was a disaster, helicopters crashing in the desert, the whole thing falling apart. And it really exposed a need that the Navy hadn't fully addressed, a dedicated counterterrorism unit ready to handle those high-stakes situations.
And that's where Richard Marcinko comes in. He was a total legend in the SEAL community, and he gets the call to create this brand new unit from scratch.
So how do you go from this very public failure, Operation Eagle Claw, to building one of the most elite, most secretive units in the world?
Well, Marcinko had a strategy, and it was brilliant, really. He chose the name SEAL Team 6. Now, remember, at this point, there were only 2 SEAL teams.
Wait, so he intentionally made it seem like there were more SEALs than there actually were? That's amazing. Like some real Cold War spy stuff.
Exactly. It was all about perception. By making the Soviets think the U.S. had a bigger special ops force than it did, Marcinko created uncertainty, doubt, a total power move, and it worked.
It really makes you think the power of a name, right? Because even though they officially changed it to DAVGRU, that's Naval Special Warfare Development Group back in 1987, everybody still calls them SEAL Team 6.
There's a reason that name stuck around.
Yeah.
But that name change in '87, it wasn't just for show. It reflects a big shift that was happening in special operations, a move away from just pure direct action. Think less about, kicking down doors and more about being versatile, multifaceted.
So less Rambo, more like strategic chess.
Exactly. You start to see them doing more intelligence gathering, counterproliferation, things like that, a much broader range of missions.
So they're transitioning into this more versatile unit, operating in the shadows, gathering intel. But let's be real. What does it take to actually earn a spot on SEAL Team 6 or DVGRU, right? I mean, some of these entry requirements, intense.
Oh, absolutely. You're talking about a whole other level of elite. These guys are already SEALs, right? The best of the bust?
Yeah. Right. They've made it through the toughest training in the world, and then they have to prove themselves all over again.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you're already starting with the cream of the crop. And then it's like you skim off like the very, very top.
I remember reading about some of the basic requirements, like you have to be male, at least 21, you need 2 deployments under your belt.
Right. But that's, like you said, just the baseline. You're talking about individuals who are not just physically incredible, although they are, but mentally resilient, adaptable, crazy intelligent. And they get tested on everything. Combat tactics, weapons handling, foreign languages,
Yeah.
even cultural awareness.
It's like they're training James Bond, but, for real.
Right. And then there's the selection process itself.
Green team, right. 8 months of pure intensity, and we read that the attrition rate is over 50%.
Yeah, I mean, think about that. These are SEALs we're talking about. And half of them don't make it through. One source I read, they said only 2 out of 16 candidates actually made it to the end of one green team selection. 2.
It's hard to imagine what that would do to you psychologically, that kind of pressure.
It's about more than just being physically tough. Way more.
Right, you have to be able to think clearly when you're exhausted, when everything is on the line.
They're pushed to their absolute limit in training, physically and mentally, because the reality is, out in the field, staying calm under pressure can be the difference between life and death for everyone.
There was one detail from the source material that really got me, the live fire hostage rescue drills.
Intense.
Yeah, your buddies are playing the hostages,
Yeah.
live ammo flying through the air. It's like something out of an action movie.
It has to feel real, though.
Right.
It's one thing to train on a range, shooting at targets. It's another thing when the person a few feet away from you, that's your teammate.
Those hostage rescue drills, man, I can't even imagine. But those are for training, right? And it's all about the real-world missions, the actual deployments. In the beginning, SEAL Team 6 was mostly about maritime stuff, counterterrorism, hostage rescue, right?
Yeah, they were the go-to for anything happening on the water.
Ships, oil rigs, that kind of thing.
Exactly. They were masters of those environments, diving, maritime operations, all of it.
Stealthy, precise, getting those hostages out safely. So how did DVGRU's role change after 9/11 with the war on terror and everything?
9/11 changed everything, really. Warfare was different, and DVGRU, they had to adapt.
Became a global force.
Global and incredibly versatile. Direct action, intelligence gathering, you name it.
I read that counter-proliferation became a big thing for them, too.
Right, trying to stop those weapons from falling into the wrong hands. Huge priority.
So they're facing these new threats, taking on this bigger role, and there were some missions, high-profile missions, that really captured the public's attention.
Like that incredible rescue of Jessica Buchanan and Polhagen Thisted, held hostage by Somali pirates. Really intense situation.
Reading about that, it's like something out of a movie. Those operators going in, taking out the pirates, getting the hostages home safe.
That's the image a lot of people have of them, right? Those daring rescues.
Yeah.
But it's never easy.
No, those missions are risky no matter how good you are.
And things can go wrong.
Yeah. And the source material about Linda Norgrove, that was heartbreaking.
A reminder of the real human cost of these missions, the risks that these operators take, and the sacrifices that are made.
Absolutely. And it makes you think about the bigger picture, too. The ethical questions, the oversight. Because we read about those accusations of misconduct, cover-ups, even some former SEALs speaking out. It gets complicated.
It does. And I think those are conversations that we need to have about accountability, about transparency, even when it comes to these elite units.
So as we're wrapping up this deep dive into SEAL Team 6, what are you left thinking about?
The skill, the dedication of these operators, it's incredible. But also the weight of what they do.
They operate in the shadows, but their actions have real consequences.
And that name, SEAL Team 6, even though it's officially DEVGRU now, that mystique, it really makes you think about the nature of modern warfare, the balance of power, the choices that are made.
Big questions, no easy answers, and something for all of us to think about. Not just the missions, but the impact, the human cost.